Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding Gavin Newsom coming out and implying that inflation pains are a conservative lie. Yes, you heard that correctly. This dude thinks that everything you're going through right now, with grocery prices up 40%, gas prices up 30 to 40%, energy prices through the roof, all that's make-believe. Everything you're experiencing is an absolute lie. Folks, this one is truly head-spinning, and we're going to break it down for you. Before we jump into any of this nonsense, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And with that being said, California Governor Gavin Newsom, the knucklehead, implied this week that inflation pains Americans are feeling this Thanksgiving are simply a lie pushed by conservatives. Everything we say is a conspiracy theory according to Democrats. It just so happens everything we say tends to be true. Quote, things you won't see on Fox News today, Newsom posted Wednesday on X. Prices for Thanksgiving are down from turkey to air travel. Yes. Yes. That was the exact quote. Prices for Thanksgiving are down from turkey to air travel. This guy's an idiot. Newsom's post included a chart showing price changes according to Labor Day department data. Prices from peas, milk, stuffing, pie crust, turkey, and cranberries have dropped from last year according to the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the chart, folks. It is a real thing presented by Gavin Newsom. So it shows average hourly wage up 4.4%. Then it shows pumpkin pie mix, dinner rolls, veggie tray, etc., milk, and all that other stuff, okay? So if you're listening on audio, it says cranberries, negative 18%, turkey, negative 6%, pie crust, negative 5%, etc., from Labor Department Hopper.com. So that's what knucklehead Gavin Newsom posted online. However, inflation is only just cooling off after spiking during the last few years. Last year, the average price of a Thanksgiving meal hit a record high. While prices of some items have dipped, this year from last year's record high prices are still higher than they were before the pandemic. So these knuckleheads are the ones that are actually spreading the lie, not conservatives. So because they were down year over year, or should I say from last year, they are still higher than ever since before the pandemic. But this is how they swindle things. This is how they lie to their own party. And the people on the Democrat side of the aisle actually believe it. This year, the average cost of a Thanksgiving meal for 10 people is about $61, down 4.5% of last year's $64 average cost, according to a report from the American Farm Bureau Federation. However, this year's price is still, are you sitting down? Are you sitting down? If you're in your car, pull over. However, this year's price is still 15% higher than the $53 that a Thanksgiving meal cost in 2021. And if you haven't pulled over yet or sat down, a whopping 25% higher than the $48 in 2019. And this dude's going to sit there and go on social media and call you a liar when he is the one that's lying. And you know what? He was right. This isn't something you're going to find on Fox News because it's BS. And you don't find BS on Fox News all that much. You will sometimes, but you're really going to see that coming from the Democrat side of the aisle, as well as the podium of the White House from Karine Jean-Pierre and the knucklehead that's supposedly the puppet of the Democrat Party, Joe Biden. 25% higher, you guys. Insane. And that's why 8 in 10 Americans plus are living paycheck to paycheck. At least one of the reasons, which is due to this Bidenomics. In other words, inflation and a disastrous economy. Quote, although survey prices have begun to come down, food price inflation remains a real issue and serves as a constant strain on the budget of all U.S. consumers. Newsom also claimed the 18% increase in the average hourly wage compared to 3 years ago is nearly the best 3-year gain in 40 years. Do you think that was a manipulation as well? Because everything that comes out of this guy's mouth is a lie or fraud. And what I mean by that is this is the same guy that sat there and shut down entirety of California and nobody could go out to a restaurant. He shut businesses down. All the while, this dude goes and has lunch or dinner or whatever at the French Laundry Market or wherever the hell that restaurant was with his elite friends and family. But we all couldn't do it. You also saw that from Nancy Pelosi and others. These freaking politicians suck. However, the skyrocketing inflation of the past 3 years has not allowed workers to enjoy their increased wages as much as they might have liked. Inflation has been a major concern for Americans since the pandemic from groceries to gas prices and other necessities. Hell, you can't even buy a house anymore because you got mortgage rates about like 8% in some areas. Grocery bills are up like 40%. Gas prices are through the roof. Hell, inflation was 9.1% under Joe Biden, and all the while they're blaming it on the Putin price hike because Putin invaded Ukraine. All of a sudden, you're paying $7, $8 at the gas pump. 2/3 of people say their expenses have risen, and only a quarter say their income has risen, according to a poll last month from the Associated Press, NORC, Center for Public Affairs Research. About 75% of those surveyed described the economy as poor. Yeah. This whole thing's being masked by the Biden administration in conjunction with the media, helping them mask how bad things really are. Things are going down the pooper real fast, folks, and that's why we got to get on a boat next year. Bigly. If grandma can't get out, you got to help her. Drive down there, you go to the polls together and have a nice little day out of it. Because we can't take another 4 years of Joe Biden. If it's gone up 25% Thanksgiving meal since 2019, how much more do you think it's going to be next year, folks? How much more can we take of this man? Because Democrats are still going to go out and turn out in droves for this guy, especially if they do mail-in ballots. It's game over for us. Don't think that Donald Trump has this in the bag by any means, you guys. We don't. Oh, we don't. Democrats, it's not bad enough for them. None of this is bad enough. From the increasing prices haven't hit them yet, to the massive flow of illegal immigration. They're just starting to see the effects of it, which we'll see in another story. Hell, what else? The national security issue we're having with not just the massive flow of drugs and fentanyl coming through, but also the violent gang members to terrorists in our country present time, these sleeper cells. Hell, what else is going on? I don't know. Our foreign policy's gone through the pooper with China off the coast of Taiwan. You got Iran coming out and saying, look, death to America is not a slogan, it's a policy. We want to wipe you guys off the face of the earth. You got the whole shenanigans going on in Gaza with Hamas killing Israelis in the streets left and right. You got Russia invading Ukraine over there. You got Joe Biden sending billions, hundreds of billions to Ukraine, all the while the Pentagon failed its 6th consecutive audit. I mean, you could literally go down a laundry list of things, from the Democrat Party to Joe Biden to the Democrats running localities right into the ground. It's all a dumpster fire, and we need to get out and vote. Again, moral here is get out and vote because we can't take another 4 years, folks. This year, Halloween candy prices saw double-digit inflation for the 2nd year in a row, spiking a whopping 13% since October of last year. But don't worry, Gavin Newsom took to X, folks. He took to Twitter and told you otherwise. It's so amazing how we're always the conspiracy theorists, but nothing that comes out of the Democrat Party's mouths, nor Karine Jean-Pierre, Joe Biden, that's not conspiracy theories. That's not lies at all. These are, you guys, these are the same people, these lefties like Gavin Newsom, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, Karine Jean-Pierre, Jen Psaki, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, hell, you name it. The squad on the Democrat side of the aisle, all these lefties, these libs, these are the same people who are going to tell you that the border is secure. These are the same people that are going to tell you inflation's not happening. These are the same people that are going to blame everything on Putin and Xi, which there is some blame to be had, but a lot of it's on Joe Biden and his policies. Remember, Bidenomics is working. You just haven't seen it work yet, according to Karine Jean-Pierre. You haven't felt it yet. They're a bunch of idiots. In September, gas prices in Southern California counties again skyrocketed to an average of $6. Excuse me, I said an average of $6. It's over $6 average. Insane. But we're the conspiracy theories, folks. We're making all this up. Speaking of supposedly making things up, conservatives are coming out and saying, look, you have unprecedented numbers at the border. You're taking a hounding at the border. You need to fix it. The Democrats, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre, Jen Psaki, whoever the hell comes out and speaks on behalf of the president, is saying, well, it's just a challenge. It's just a challenge. It's not a crisis. You know, I'm sorry. Is it a challenge? No. Let me rephrase that. It's a situation, according to the White House. You think they're taking this seriously? Well, check out this article title right here. Biden's DHS secretary orders Border Patrol agents to use preferred pronouns for illegal immigrants. Oh, that's where their priorities are at, you guys. Make sure you call them by their preferred pronouns. You know, you really try to wrap your head around this stuff as you're reading it and you're taking it in real time because, like I said, a lot of this is reactionary commentary. I haven't read these articles. So when I say this is insane or this is wild, I'm trying to process this. That's because that is what's happening in real time, along with all of you that might be hearing this of the first time as well, or unless you heard the story before, maybe over the weekend or prior to, watching this video, whenever it was. You're going to go after their preferred pronouns. Some of these people are coming here as criminals after murdering people in their home country, and they're fleeing it because their lives are at risk. I'm not saying all of these people, right? That'd be ludicrous, me making that accusation. But some of these people have committed heinous crimes in their country and are coming into our country unknowingly to DHS or Border Patrol, whatever it may be, and are committing those same heinous crimes here. But we're supposed to worry about their pronouns, you guys. See, that we're supposed to worry about what you call them. Do you remember when Donald Trump called MS-13 savages, like these violent gang members that commit like murders everywhere? And he called them savages, and the Democrat Party lost their crap. Oh my God, he's called all immigrants criminals and savages and animals. Well, it's the terrible thing to call them. Donald Trump came out, and we did do a short on this, where he's like, hey, we should really take seriously people selling drugs to others, and that we should ultimately put them on death penalty or whatever. And then you had Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe coming out saying, oh, Donald Trump wants to execute everybody. And then people are leaving comments like, oh, well, man, like, yeah, Donald Trump wants to execute people. He said it in his own words. It's like, as if context doesn't matter to any of these people. It's insane. It's insane. You try to just have a little bit of logic and reason with this left-hand side of the aisle, meaning the leftists, and they can't do it. They just hear that Donald Trump said to execute something, and they stop there, and they apply it to like a whole generalized thing. When he's talking about heinous people that are causing other people to die. In the same way, Donald Trump called MS-13 gang members, violent gang members that commit murders and heinous crimes in their country and ours, savages and animals, and they attribute it to the entire immigrant population. I know it doesn't make sense. I'm right there with you. Is it stupid? Absolutely. But this is what we deal with on a daily basis. Idiots. Just like we saw in our first segment where Gavin Newsom called you and I a liar because people are feeling inflation pains from Bidenomics. Gas prices are through the roof. Immigration's through the roof. Our national security levels are through the roof. You name it, the dude's breaking records on all fronts. And it's all make-believe. We're just pulling this out of our you-know-what. I didn't even get into the article yet. I apologize. Here, the Biden administration's Department of Homeland Security is instructing Customs and Border Patrol agents to ask immigrants they encounter for their preferred pronouns and use gender-neutral language while on the job. Not if, hey, are you here legally? You got your papers? You have any drugs on you? You killed anybody? Are you going to assimilate into our country? Do you value our Constitution and our creed? No, none of that. Hey, are you a male or female? Like, what do you go by? You non-binary? Are you trans? Like, what are we going to call you? The guidance obtained by the Heritage Foundation Oversight Project, entitled Guide to Facilitating Effective Communication with Individuals Who Identify as the LGBTQI+, also tells CBP agents to avoid using certain terms. My God. It has to be so hard being a Border Patrol agent right now. I mean, you got to really be punching your steering wheel while you're on your way to work. This job aid provides guidance to all CBP employees who interact with the public, including individuals who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, non-binary, and gender non-conforming. The document reads, this guidance should be used by all CBP employees who encounter members of the public. The agency goes on to demand that Customs and Border Patrol agents do not use, like, oh my God, that they don't use he, him, she, her pronouns until they have more information about or provided by the individual. CBP agents are also instructed to not use words like Mr., Miss, Sir, or Ma'am. Oh my God, I'm telling you, take hold of the language, folks. If you take hold of the language, you take hold of the culture, you take hold of all politics. Everything is downstream from culture. And that's what the left has been doing time and time again, is they're sitting there trying to take over our language. They're redefining things at points where literally they lie, like the recession aspect from Karine Jean-Pierre. She said that we're no longer in a recession. We've never been in a recession. Even you had multiple quarters of negative GDP growth. We're no longer in a recession, haven't been in a recession. Recession is off the table. You can't even talk about it because that's not the definition of recession, even though it's always been the definition of recession. But that's what they do. They redefine things. They change the language so that we all have to go along with the show now, because if you don't, you're racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, all these nasty things of which you're not. And that's how they destroy this country from the inside out. And they're doing it in real time, folks. Again, I'm always plugging the book because I think it's worth the read. If it sucks, I wouldn't plug it. Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. You can get a great deal on Amazon right now. It's a great gift for the holidays. Buy it for a Democrat, buy it for a lib, a leftist, but most importantly, buy it for your friend or family member that needs to hear this stuff. how the left is destroying America, or they just love supporting a conservative Republican. Again, I'm a registered Republican, but I am a fiscal conservative at heart. Buy yourself a copy today. Get equipped with those arguments. Really get a deep dive of how the left is destroying America. You're seeing in real time. Quote, keep in mind that gender identity, sense of self, and sexual orientation, attraction, are separate and distinct. Hence, transgender people, for example, may identify as heterosexual, gay, lesbian, or even bisexual. The document also reads, the terms and definitions in this job guide are not universal. Some LGBTQI plus individuals may define themselves differently. The Department of Homeland Security insistence on the adoption of the new terminology comes amid a historic crisis at the southern border. An estimated 2 million illegal immigrant gotaways, have made their way into the United States since President Joe Biden took office. But not one of them, not a single one is a terrorist. Not a single one is a bad person. Not a single one wants to do harm to your friends or family, folks. Not a single one, according to the left. So that's what's going on with that. And you know what? It's not bad enough for Democrats to vote the opposite direction, folks. It's not bad yet. Even though they will sit there and take to the streets and complain about what the migrants are doing in their city, because migrants take all free Thanksgiving turkeys intended for struggling New Yorkers. Yes, you heard that correctly. Finally, some of these people are having this impact on them of these illegal immigrants taking their food when it's supposed to be for Americans. In the same way, our politicians, specifically on the Democrat side of the aisle, will kick out our veterans that served in Afghanistan and Iraq out of hotel rooms and replace them with these illegal immigrants. So check this out. Georgia Butler, a NYCHA Queensbridge Houses resident, says the residents were told to be at a food pantry at 11 a.m. to pick up a turkey, but migrants arrived much earlier to wait in line. Quote, they was first in line for the turkeys this morning. They tell you to be there at 11 o'clock. You get there at 10:30, 10:45, but they already out there. The line is far from over there to over here. The line is from over there to over here. So I had a little bit of twist, but that was, I read it verbatim. They was first in line for turkeys this morning. That's what it read. Okay. So I threw a little bit of spin on it, a little bit of accent, but hey, you know what? That's what it read. Fox reports that free food giveaways, particularly during the holidays, have become a source of growing tension between New Yorkers struggling to get by and migrant dependent on the system for their survival. No. You got what you voted for. Conservatives and Republicans have said for a long time that the Democrat Party and the left put other countries, other people ahead of their own citizens, American citizens. That's why they want illegal immigrants to be able to vote in New York City. We saw that exchange between Jerry Nadler and Mark Johnson. Yeah, you heard that correctly. The Democrats want illegal immigrants to vote. And we all know that's the big picture, right? That's the grand scheme here, the grand plan of the Democrat Party, to sit there and have open borders like we're having here, because at some point, you're going to give these people amnesty at some point. You're not going to deport 25 million people. There's not enough money to do that. It's not feasible. And then at that point, now all of a sudden Republicans and conservatives are racist for wanting to deport people that shouldn't be here in the first place, all those other things. And we all know statistically that migrants, whether it's legal or illegal, tend to vote Democrat their first time voting. So you just turn 25 million people into voters, which is more the population than half of our states. Yes, you heard that correctly, because if you do this distribution of population per state, you end up having more illegal immigrants voting than half the population of our states, meaning you just swung elections for here to come for the rest of your life. You can say thank you to the Democrat Party for that. You can thank Joe Biden. And you know what? Republicans haven't been stepping up to the plate either, you guys. I'm a registered Republican. I'm a Donald Trump fan. We didn't get things done. We needed to get things done. And those people that didn't get those done, we don't need to vote for them anymore. Look, there's other people out there. And when we start showing these people they're not going to get voted back in unless they fix their ish, I'm telling you, things are going to change real quick. But it's up to us to do that. And right now, things aren't even bad enough for us, because we're not getting out there and voting and changing that vote of Republicans that are running. The same knuckleheads that are part of the swamp, we keep voting in ourselves, folks. All right, we got to change our ways here. Us too. Fox reports that free food giveaways, particularly during holidays, have become a source of growing tension. Why? Because migrants are taking the food, folks. The homeless are taking the food. The Democrats exacerbating these issues are causing other Democrats to finally feel the effects of their voting habits. Last month, as a news outlet noted, an altercation between a resident and migrant became so heated that someone ended up hospitalized. Quote, why do we have to take the butt of everything? Butler asked. Okay, this county here is already suffering. Gee, what county is that? Is that county ran by Democrats that you keep voting for, but you're going to complain about how the community is suffering because the Democrat ran? Maybe you shouldn't vote Democrat. How about that for a change? Since the spring of 2022, roughly 143,000 illegal aliens have come to New York City, with more than 65,000 living in the city's shelters. About 45% of these people are living in the shelters, eating up the resources of New York City, all the while New York City for years shouted to the skies, look at us, we're sanctuary city, we're right to shelter state, oh, look at us. And then they're calling, Texans bigots and racists and all these other things. So Texans go, hey, fine, take these illegal immigrants. You want them, have them. And now New York is absolutely crumbling. To cope with the growing migrant crisis, Mayor Eric Adams recently unveiled a plan to steep budget cuts for New York City, including plans to defund the public library system, cutting hours in half, even as roughly 49% of the city's 8th graders are proficient in reading. But don't worry, you have places like Portland, Oregon, I believe it is, that's completely doing away with being proficient in math and be able to graduate high school. It sounds so satirical. I am being 100% sincere. Oregon is doing away with having high schoolers be proficient in math and English to graduate. Why go to school? Why have any standards in teaching then? So, it doesn't surprise me here that 49% of the city's 8th graders are proficient in reading. And you know what? Those are already after the standard was lower. So it's really worse than that. It's probably close to, honestly, like 20% of 8th graders are actually proficient in reading. Because remember, the standards are constantly being lowered. Local officials have pleaded with Adams to help to address the simmering tensions between residents and migrants. I love the fact that Democrats are having to eat their own crap now. After petitioning the mayor's office, Councilmember Julie Wan was able to secure $50,000 to increase the number of hot meals served at shelters. However, she fears that the budget cuts could place additional strain on her community. So they don't know what to do. The Democrats literally don't know what to do in their own state, in their own states, in their own city. Think about that. They couldn't have expected this ever to happen. So that's how you change votes later on, except it's not bad enough for them. The crime's not bad enough. The fact that they're killing each other is not bad enough. The fact that black businesses, white businesses, Hispanic businesses, Asian businesses, all businesses are being royally screwed there. The fact that Americans are being royally screwed, Democrat or Republican or Independent, no matter who you are, in New York City are being screwed. I mean, the place is a dumpster fire in the same way that California is turning into a dumpster fire as well. It just doesn't look the way it was before, but it's all, again, it's ran by Democrats, you guys, and it has been for decades, And you know who they're going to blame? You and I. They're going to blame Orange Bad Mad Man. It's all Donald Trump's fault. It's all conservative Republicans' fault. They're running the country into the ground. I mean, look around. I mean, I'm not saying that Republican places are like God's green earth or anything. I mean, some places are, but I mean, look at where the crime is happening. It's happening in Democrat-ran areas, and you guys understand this. They will still vote. They will still vote for Joe Biden. They're so terrified of Donald Trump. They are still going to vote for Joe Biden because somehow the media has got it all twisted in their head that Donald Trump's going to start executing people in the streets. The guy's destroying democracy. They really believe that, you guys. Let that sink in. After everything Joe Biden has done, everything that's been going on, somehow Donald Trump is worse than Joe Biden. I'm with you. I don't understand it either. It's insane thinking. It's insane thinking. He's going to destroy the republic. He's going to cause us to go into war. He's going to ruin the economy. Look around, you knuckleheads. Joe Biden's ruined the economy. We had record inflation. I hadn't even seen it in my lifetime. It was so bad. You got wars happening all across the world. You didn't have that under Donald Trump. You didn't have record inflation under Donald Trump. Everything was growing freaking gravy. Everything was going fine. And then you got knucklehead China releasing a freaking giant pandemic across the globe. Nothing's ever happened to them. Nothing at all. Mind you, they have more ish going on. There's provinces in China that are closing down because you're having this pneumonia going around. I mean, at what point does the world wake up and start actually, I don't know, putting sanctions, some drastic consequences on China? Where's the retaliation? Somebody, for the love of God, show me one article where we've retaliated in any way, shape, or form that's actually substantial against China. But remember when Joe Biden looked at Donald Trump, China's going to eat your lunch, man. I don't think so, bro. You let China fly freaking spy balloons all across our country and gather intelligence. You let China build a freaking spy base off the coast of Cuba. Don't give me this crap that they're going to eat Donald Trump's lunch. They're eating your lunch. I hope you're enjoying this episode because boy, am I riled up, folks. As always. Look, a lot of this is for entertainment, me screaming and going like this. But don't get me wrong. I'm being sincere in the sense of it's frustrating as hell. I can't fathom as to why people would still vote for Joe Biden. If Donald Trump ran the country the same way Joe Biden is, I wouldn't vote for Donald Trump again. I won't. And here's the thing. Nobody's stepping up to the plate to go against Joe Biden because they have no bench. The Democrats have nobody. They have RFK, but look, that whole family's corrupt. Don't to go with that gentleman. No. Who else are they going to put up? Gavin Newsom? Look what Gavin Newsom called you a liar. Gavin Newsom is gaslighting the entirety of America with this tweet going, oh, well, you know, turkey prices are down. No, they're not. Turkey meal's up 25%, you knucklehead, since Joe Biden, was in office. That's a dude that wants to run. This is the same guy that we did a short on that can't answer a damn question from Adam Carolla back in 2013. This is the same guy that drove California into the ground. If he can't run a state, do you think he can run the country? This dude can't even run California. If he ran California in the ground the same way Kamala Harris ran California in the ground, this is going to be the same thing that Joe Biden's doing to the United States, running it into the ground. To expect something different from somebody that's been in office this long is the definition of insane, expecting something different. But they'll still vote for him. Remember that. I'm going to say this for the next freaking year until we hit November when we vote here in 2024. I'm going to be hounding the fact that we need to get our tushies out there and vote, folks. Because if you don't, I live in California. I mean, there's actually a strong case to be made that my vote literally doesn't count. I still get out and vote. I don't care. And I'm going to implore everybody in the state of California that's a registered Republican to get out there regardless. Because at least we could send a message that we're united in the front. Regardless of whether your vote counts or not, at least we can get out there and make a difference somewhat in our voices. Saying, hey, look, if those guys in California that probably don't have their vote matter, that they get out there and vote, us in other places like Texas and Ohio or some of these swing states, we need to get out there in droves and make a difference here. Even if we lose, at least we said we got out there and did it. Even if they do sit there and manipulate the voting by harvesting ballots or whatever it was, like we saw in local elections recently, or what they did back in the last election, which there was a strong case of ballot harvesting and some fraud going on. I'm not saying it did swing the election, but there's a strong case of it might have. We will never know because they never actually performed a freaking audit. That's a whole nother video. We got to get out and vote. Again, we got to get out and vote. Well, our last story of the day here is USC professor booted off campus after saying Hamas terrorists should be killed. This is my alumni. I got my master's at USC. It's so insane that you say something so obvious. Terrorists, actual terrorists that took babies as hostages. They killed babies. They put them in ovens, you guys. Think about the irony in that. After the Holocaust, after putting grown adults, babies, men and women, millions of peoples in actual ovens, they went there on October 7th and put babies in ovens again. Like they committed another heinous crime. And so you got a professor out here that seems like he has his screws on, right? You know, he's not a complete knucklehead, saying, hey, you know, maybe Hamas should be killed. He's not saying Palestinians should be killed. It says here the University of Southern California has barred an economics professor from campus after he spoke out against Hamas at a pro-Palestinian rally. This is what happens, you guys, when you indoctrinate an entire generation. And not just a generation, but multiple generations. And thinking that America is racist, America is evil, capitalism is bad. All these things, you've just changed the entire ideology of a country to where there is no return. And recently, I watched my number one guy, Thomas Sowell, give an interview. And he was proposed the question of, hey, you've been saying all these things for decades now. You know, you've been espousing your philosophy and how we can fix things. Do you have optimism in America basically coming back? And I've always said no. I've said our republic is done. I just hope it doesn't happen in our lifetime. And I firmly do believe that, you guys. I really do believe that there is no hope in America anymore in terms of us going back to how we were originally. He said no. And that was one of the biggest gut kicks I've ever had. Like, I got kicked right in the nuts when he said that. Because obviously he's way smarter than I am. He has his ish together. He's been doing this his entire life. He's wrote many more books than me. I've only wrote one. Hopefully I can write more. But I thought he was going to have optimism. I thought he was going to say, oh, yes, no. I mean, this is, I think things are bad, but we could turn it around. He just said flat out, no, it's not going to happen. The American experiment, folks, was always an outlier. There has never been a republic or democracy that has lasted as long as us in human history. We are the outlier. Nobody's ever ran this experiment longer than us. And I say an experiment because we don't know how it's going to work. And clearly it's not. Capitalism isn't that great, but it's the best solution that we have. It's pretty good compared to everything else we got. Communism, socialism, mercantilism. I mean, it's the best option we have so far. But you are in real time seeing the collapse of the republic happen. The question is that how long can we delay it is the real question here. And that's why, again, we got to get out and vote. Well, check this out. Professor John Strauss, who is Jewish and a supporter of Israel, was filmed walking by a pro-Palestinian protest earlier this month and calling Hamas members murderers who should be killed. Meaning, he's just saying an absolute fact. Like an absolute fact. Clips of the interaction were later posted online by accounts calling for Strauss's ouster and mischaracterizing his remarks, claiming he directed them toward all Palestinians. And this is what they do. This is what the libs do, these leftists do. They take one little thing you say and they attribute it to everything as a whole. Folks, they do this on data as well. They will pull an outlier and attribute that to the entire data as a whole. They do it on all fronts. This is how they get by with pulling the shenanigans that they're doing. They manipulate things. They take what you say out of context, similar to what we see them do with Donald Trump all the time. The media are fabulous at doing this. They do it to conservatives left and right. Conservatives don't do it to them. Conservatives use context. But when they say something crazy that's in context of being crazy, then it never happened. You're a conspiracy theorist. It's not real. It's make-believe. It's QAnon stuff. Quote, his racist, xenophobic behavior. There you go. You know a leftist is talking right now, right? Anytime they start with, well, his racist, xenophobic behavior, you know it's a leftist. Including stepping on names during a memorial service at USC for over 10K innocent civilians that lost their lives in Palestine, is unacceptable. His remarks, everyone should be killed, and I hope they all are not only offensive, but also promote and incite violence. So there you go. They're not capable of, you guys, they're not capable of actually understanding what somebody's talking about because it doesn't fit their narrative. And so they have to twin and spin it. They have to twist and spin it to sit there and fit their narrative to where when he says, I hope they all are, they're not able to actually comprehend that he's talking about Hamas. They're not able to distinguish the two because in some fronts, some of these Palestinians think that they're all one. They don't think Hamas is a terrorist organization. Some of them. I don't think Palestinians should be killed. I mean, you can only be so clear, right? Like I'm able to cognitively make the separation between a Hamas terrorist organization and Palestinians that have it rough in Gaza right now. Like I'm completely able to make the distinction. But some of these lefties aren't, you guys. We have to fully understand that. Some of the Democrats aren't able to make that distinction either. In the same way, they're not able to make the distinction between Donald Trump talking about MS-13 violent gang members and immigrants. They attribute it to the entirety of the whole, which is so baffling to actually sit there and comprehend this, that they're not able to distinguish between the two. Their heads aren't on straight. The left heads are not on straight. And clearly are these people running USC, my alma mater. A 20-second video of the interaction shows that Strauss spoke about Hamas. Of course he did. Of course he did. Context doesn't matter to these people, though. Nothing matters to these people other than the destruction of the West and the destruction of the United States of America. Quote, people are ignorant. Really ignorant, Strauss can be heard saying as he walks upon the demonstration. Yes, he's not wrong in anything he said so far. Quote, Hamas are murderers. That's all they are. Everyone should be killed, and I hope they all are. Look, that context matters. He started off with saying, this is who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Hamas. I'm saying Hamas are murderers. All those murderers labeled as Hamas should be killed, and he hopes that they all are. Who are they all is Hamas. They're not capable, you guys. And this is partly due just because of the destruction of our education system, where, like I said, places like Oregon are completely doing away with reading and math. There's no shock as to why they're actually not able to comprehend this. I mean, some of them are. They're just liars. But they're cognitively not because they're idiots. I know it sounds bad, but it's true. Some of them, not all of them. See, this is the thing. I say that they're idiots. There's people out there and be like, oh, Brad's talking about the entire Democrat Party and the progressive left are idiots. No, I'm not. I can only be so clear. I'm talking about a fringe group of people that are just idiots out there that aren't able to because they're idiots. How they got into USC, I have no idea. Affirmative actions, maybe one. The fact that they have diversity hires there because you're a certain ethnic group that you got in, even though your grades were mediocre, and even mediocre is not that good nowadays because of the standards being lowered, that they just pass you through the system. Oh, we have a 99% graduation rate. Great. Makes you raise red flags when somebody says that. These are people that are voting, you guys. They have a right to vote. But when you lower your standards and destroy an entire country through the education system by not instilling creeds in the class called civics anymore, that America's a great country. Yeah, we have our flaws, but it's the greatest country on earth. But yet you have people that are coming in here with student visas that are chanting death to America. They want to see Western civilization destroyed. We're a bunch of colonizers and all these things. You know, these people end up becoming American citizens and end up voting a certain direction and getting elected, like we see with the squad. And, now they're in Congress. Like Bernie Sanders, a socialist, is in Congress. Let that one sink in, but don't worry. The right has gone further right. The left hasn't. Left hasn't moved one bit, even though you look at JFK, look at Bill Clinton's words. If you heard Bill Clinton sounds almost like a conservative. Bill Clinton sounds almost like a Republican nowadays if you were to listen to him. Same with JFK. Democrats haven't moved one iota, folks, not one bit. The dude's speaking sound logic here, and this is what they do. They sit there and take your words, they spin it, they manipulate it, they lie about it. You notice that they left out that first part when he's talking about Hamas? Do you notice that? They don't want to add that in there because it totally destroys everything that they said. Amid calls for his ouster, Strauss later defended his comments to the Daily Trojan, a USC student newspaper. Quote, I don't mind if they want to memorialize people who were killed. That's fine, just as Jewish students are memorializing Israelis who were killed, Strauss said. But this started as a result of Hamas terrorist attacks, correct, referring to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. Israel, notice he said Israel and Hamas, not Israel versus Palestinians. You notice that? Again, very clear with his words, very clear distinction. They're not able to do it. The left is not able to make that distinction. Israel declared war on the terror group Hamas as a result of the surprise attack on October 7th. The USC administration barred Strauss from campus after the backlash over his comments. In a letter the professor obtained by the Daily Trojan, the University of Strauss told Strauss that he would teach and interact with students strictly online for the rest of the semester to minimize disruption to the educational environment and to ensure a safe environment for both students and youth. You guys, this whole safe spaces thing, it just shows you how snowflake people are nowadays, that they can't actually handle words. They can't actually handle somebody that has a different viewpoint than them. Think about it. And conservatives and Republicans, that's all we've learned from primarily was leftists and Democrats. I mean, from the education system to being enshrined or indoctrinated rather in the media that we've grown up with, from Disney to MSNBC to CNN to ABC, all these news outlets, to our teachers, to our professors. We've only grew up by leftists trying to indoctrinate us. I mean, we know more about the left than the left actually does about the right, which makes sense. That's because they call us names all the time. They don't actually have any real substantive evidence to sit there and make those claims that we're racist and bigots. They just shout it out there in ether with no evidence to back it up. And when there's no evidence to back it up, they just make and fabricate lies about us. But then on the other hand, they'll come on social media like Twitter, X, the USC Trojan daily newspaper and go, oh, well, they're bigots, they're xenophobes, you know, oh, they're just telling you a bunch of lies. All the while, Gavin Newsom lies to you, Joe Biden lies to you, Karine Jean-Pierre, every time she's literally on the podium, lies to you. John Kirby lies to you. DHS Secretary lies to you. Kamala Harris lies to you. The Squad lies to you. The Squad actually fabricates photos from Mexico at the border. I mean, you name it. It's so astonishing. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you're trying to make sense of all this craziness and going, when did the hell did things just flip ass backwards on us? Like, when did it happen? Like, when did things really start going south? My answer to that is around Obama's time. Remember when Obama, I'm going to be the next great hope? No, you weren't. No, you weren't. In the same way, Joe Biden comes in going, oh, I'm going to unify the parties. No, you haven't. You haven't done anything. The most you've done is fell off a bicycle and fall up a flight of stairs multiple times and fight with your teleprompter. I mean, he's done more fighting with his teleprompter than he has done on anything else. Anything else. The dude doesn't even know he's president, you guys. Wild. Leave me a comment. Do you have a better word or words than insane, wild, mind-boggling, head-spinning that I can use? Give me some more words that we can utilize here to describe what the heck is going on. So they barred this guy from coming on campus, but he can still teach classes because we need safe spaces. Everybody needs to be safe here. The restrictions placed on Strauss have sparked a counter backlash. The Orange County Register editorial board published an editorial this week calling for USC to reverse its decision, forcing the professor remote. Quote, America's campuses have become places where it's somehow actually harder than elsewhere in the marketplace of ideas for a person to express an opinion some students don't like. You guys, they go through their entire education without ever hearing a counterpoint. There's no conservatives in the field. There are, and when there are conservatives like myself in the field, we don't talk about politics in the classroom. I don't think politics should be spoken of in the classroom, but you couldn't even give a conservative thought for fear of being fired. Like, it's borderline now going, as somebody teaches personal finance, it's borderline going, conserve your money. It's borderline giving logic like that. I'm not even exaggerating. Telling people to conserve their money, that the government's taxes are through the roof, that actually hurts you. Like, if you hound anything from the Democrat side of the aisle that actually hurts your pocketbook, even though you hound the right-hand side of the aisle that hurts your pocketbook as well, you have fear of actually being fired because they don't want anything to go against their ideology. That's why when they teach history, they don't teach about the Democrat South and the Democrat North going against the North itself. They don't call Democrat versus Republican. They just say North versus South. Why? Because they don't want any onus on them. They don't want any personal responsibility for them dragging this country into the ground since their inception as a party. especially the leftist side of the aisle, these progressives. There's no personal responsibility there. In the same way, you got a guy here that's actually putting personal responsibility on himself for his words, saying, look, if you want to sit there and attribute Hamas and you want to memorialize them in the same way that I would memorialize Israelis, that's fine. But you know what? Hamas are still terrorists, and I still think they shall be wiped out. Facts are facts, and they don't like it. They don't like it. It goes on here to say that Professor Strauss this week, when he found himself booted off his own campus, forced to teach his courses both at the doctoral and undergraduate level online from home, for the supposed sin of speaking out forcefully against the murderous terrorist group of Hamas. If that doesn't scare you, how much we've come as a country to where we're at a point now, only what, like 20 years after 9/11? Has it been 20 years? Hasn't even been 20 years. No, it's been 20 years. A little over 20 years. You can't even speak ill will about terrorists anymore. If that doesn't freak you out on how much we've changed as a country for the worse, I don't know what I can explain to you. I don't know how I can make it clear that we're going in such a wild, bad direction that there's no words to actually comprehend it, that the republic is going down. And the question is, how long can we delay it? And that's why we got to get out and vote in 2024. I mean that in the most serious of ways, regardless of whether you're in California or some lefty area, we all got to get out and vote, get our friends out there, because voices matter, you guys. And that's why we have this show here. I hindered myself from doing the show for years out of fear of the left. They're going to call me a racist. They're going to call me a xenophobe. They're going to call me all these things when I'm not. I want all races to flourish. I want Palestinians to flourish. I want Israelis to flourish. But the thing is, even though I say those things, because of this crazy leftist ideology, it's meaningless to them. I want everybody to do well. When you have students in your classroom, they're from all socioeconomic backgrounds, they're all from different races and ethnicities. I would love for all of them to be more successful than me. And I'm not even that successful. I want them to just be the wealthiest, happiest people ever. And that's conservatives for you. We're Christians, right? We're Catholics or whatever it may be. It doesn't Muslims. It doesn't matter. If you want people to flourish, if you want people to do well, let it be. You know what I mean? Let's help each other as Americans. But when you got people that are fully supporting terrorists, I can't rationalize with them. It's almost like you can't even have a conversation with them. Again, I'm able to make the distinction between Palestinians and terrorists. Like an easy distinction. But they're not able to do it, which is wonky as hell. It doesn't make sense to me. I keep trying to learn from this whole situation, but I can go on a rant for hours and hours. Always curious on what you guys have to say. Again, I'm in the live chat with you. I listen to what you guys say. I read it. I do value it. Doesn't mean I agree with it all the time. But I do appreciate your friendship. I do appreciate your patriotism to this country because, hey, that's what's going to keep us as a republic. That's what's going to keep us as a democracy is patriots, conservatives, Republicans, and Democrats as well. The progressive left, game over. They're the ones that are going to destroy this country from the inside out. Always curious on what you guys think about this. Thank you for listening to me ramble. We are growing here. The goal is to try to hit 50,000 before the new year. That is the goal. 50,000 before the new year. We need like 2,500 more subs. Tell people to subscribe to the channel so we can grow. Once we hit 50, the next goal is 100. The next goal is 100,000. We are on the road to 100,000. Then maybe we can get other people's podcasts like Dan Bongino, or maybe we could be the third chair and Louder with Crowder every now and then, or hell, maybe the Daily Wire. We could be a guest host on. I don't know, folks, but we are growing. I appreciate your love and support to the show. If you want to join us, become a true American patriot yourself, we had a join tab down here. Check out the prices. We're in Bidenomics. I get things are tough. Don't feel like you have to. Just you watching and hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. Sharing this link with your friends and family. Does yeoman's work in supporting the show. Always appreciate you. Have a lovely day. I hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving. And Christmas is coming up next, folks. God bless you. And I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bull Brad Show.